All of you are shareholders of the city of Jerusalem. Regardless where you live, the Jewish people, if they know it or not, are shareholders of the city, and our future of the residents of Jerusalem, and the Jewish people around the world, the destiny is the same. I decided to leave all my business career 12 years ago and work for a shekel a year for the future of the city of Jerusalem when I realized the challenges we have on our plate. When I realized that Jerusalem, the capital of the Jewish people, and we're not considered that stupid, has become one of the poorest cities in the country, furthering away from its potential, knowing, unfortunately, that we suffered from very strong negative migration of medium and high social economic groups, shrinkage of the Jewish population, shrinkage of the Zionist population in absolute numbers, and understanding that, God forbid, if the trend that Jerusalem suffered from would have continued, there's no doubt if you extrapolate into the future, that puts us as Jewish people at a serious challenge and problem. And knowing that it's not written in the Bible that Jerusalem has to be the poorest city, as a matter of fact, it's exactly the opposite, it was very clear to me that we can turn the city around. It needs a clear vision, an ability to execute, creating partnerships around the city, and moving the needle, making it more attractive for young people, for investors, for visitors. In the first 5 years, my first term, I believe we've accomplished some of those goals and proving and showing that we could turn the city around. Let me share with you some of the points that we have accomplished. First of all, Jerusalem, I'd like to discuss the vision, where we're headed, where I'd like to take the city into the future. Because all of our strategies and tactics are derived from a very clear vision of how the city should function in the future. And to better understand that, I'd like to take you back 3,000 years. Jerusalem was the center of the world, with the Temple Mount in the center, making it attractive for pilgrims from all over the world. Jerusalem, the way it functioned, it was not divided to tribes, so all people from all tribes, from all over the world, when they came to Jerusalem, they had a feeling of belonging. Jerusalem belonged to me as much as it belonged to any other and all other tribes. As a matter of fact, only in Jerusalem would you be able to see all people from all tribes, Jews and non-Jews alike. To remind you, there were no Christians nor Muslims at the time. And Jerusalem created people friends. The very famous saying, Yerushalayim abnuya, osa kol Yisrael chaverim. My interpretation of that phrase, Jerusalem make all people friends, is that it was the only place that everyone felt equal and saw everyone else, thus creating an atmosphere of friendship around the holiness, the spiritualism, sort of a meta layer on top of that created very social integration between the different people and different tribes. Also, we know that anything successful in Jerusalem, may it be holy, social, economic, any new thought leadership that was successful in Jerusalem, all of the pilgrims took them back home and said, back home, here's what's happening new in Jerusalem. The Jerusalem was the center of innovation for 1,000 years. In many ways, foundation of modern democracy the way we know it today. So, success in Jerusalem ripples, immediately scales to the rest of the world. And the brand Jerusalem stood for holiness, for getting people together, for creating thought leadership at the time, the New World. And those functions, that kind of creativity, that kind of management of the city at the time, I believe is our future. Creating Jerusalem a destination for pilgrims from all over the world. Making sure everyone, all tribes, secular, religious, ultra-Orthodox, Jews and non-Jews, residents of Jerusalem, residents of the country, Jews from all over the diaspora, from all federations, Jews and non-Jews alike. We have to make Jerusalem a destination that works well on the ground. Not divided to tribes. Open for all. Enabling freedom of religion the way we have today, that the Muslims manage the Muslim sites, the Christians the Christian sites, and of course the Jews the Jewish sites. And that openness and understanding of where we want to take the city is key to understanding our moves. We boosted culture. In the last 5 years, we have 5 times more cultural events than anything prior to the first term. We have the Light Festival, the Night Festival, the Marathon, Formula One. We've created the expanded Teddy Stadium to hold the Maccabee Games in Jerusalem for now and forever. We are focusing on parks, on our economy. Tourism went up from run rate of 2 million a year to 4 million tourists a year. In the last 2 years, we surpassed Tel Aviv in internal tourism. More Israelis come to Jerusalem today than they come to Tel Aviv. That street that was one way, Jerusalem-Tel Aviv, where all the young people used to flourish or move to Tel Aviv, to live, to work, to enjoy, well, now it's a two-way street. And as a matter of fact, more people come to Jerusalem than anywhere else in the country. And Jerusalem has become very bullish. We've been growing at a rate of 8% from year to year in the last 5 years, balanced budget. Look at the skyline, the amount of cranes you see in the air, which is a testimony for people believing in the future of the city. New jobs moved from 5,000 new jobs a year to 10,000 new jobs every year. 2012, we had 17,000 new jobs. So this translates immediately to a better economy and feeds the bullish atmosphere in Jerusalem. Crime rates. Crime rates in Jerusalem, if you look at murders, for example, we moved on a population of 800,000. 2010, we went down to 9 murders a year. That's crime and terror together. 2011, 5 murders a year. Last year, 4 murders a year. That's 1/10 of major cities you live in the States. 1/10 per capita. And as our economy is doing well, and satisfaction of the residents of Jerusalem is the highest in the country, satisfaction of the Arab residents of Jerusalem moved from 40 to 65% in the last 3 years from municipal services. And when you look at all these numbers, you understand that our future is looking much better than in the past. And all of this is happening in the turmoil of the Middle East, where all the countries around us are barely sticking to it. Some of them are falling apart. And interestingly enough, in the instability of the Middle East, there's an island of sanity called Israel. And within it, a jewel called Jerusalem that is moving extremely fast in our economy, moving to fulfill and to develop our potential. The plans we have ahead are major. And with your permission, I'd like to share a few things and points with you folks. I believe that in order to scale, we need partnerships. The city of Jerusalem has to leverage all its partners. I want to use the opportunity and thank Prime Minister Netanyahu's government, the first and the second. In other words, the 4 years that they've just completed and the 4 years that they're now just starting, for unprecedented support in investing in the city of Jerusalem. I also want to thank you folks at the Jewish Agency and the board and all the investors and people helping us create those partnerships. This week, if I'm not mistaken, we will complete a new partnership around Binyanei Ha'Uma. Binyanei Ha'Uma, first generation, did extremely well. What we want to do now is upgrade it to be the largest convention hall in the country. I anticipate that this will be an investment around $100 million. And what we want to do is to be able to host more and more events aligned exactly with the vision of the city, which is to be able to be a destination for pilgrims, for conferences, for investors all over the world. Right now, the number of conferences and conventions Jerusalem holds is flying up to the roof. Significant amount of conferences are refining the city of Jerusalem, and we need a hall. We need a better, larger, a more modern place, which we'll do together. Side by side to that, we are seeking a number of projects. One that I love most is the concept of mosaic relationship between different communities all over the world, different federations, aligned with different communities in Jerusalem. Thank God we have significant amount of young communities springing like mushrooms after rain in different neighborhoods of the city. These are students or ex-students, young families that decide to live in mini communities of 30 to 40 each. 4 years ago, there were 4 communities like this. Today, there are 30 communities like this, and we want to reach a goal of 60 communities in the next 2-3 years. These communities are top patriotic, local Jerusalemites and other people that fell in love with the city, that understand that to turn the city around, you need lots of young, patriotic, social people. They come to the neighborhoods, they get engaged with the schools, with the welfare, with youth movements. They plug into local leadership of the communities, and all of a sudden we see the new leadership pop up all around the city of Jerusalem. These young people are eager to make Jerusalem successful, and after them we see wherever they reach, if it's Kiryat Yovel, if it's Katamon and other places, all of a sudden you see a huge lift and a huge movement of young people entering the city of Jerusalem, entering these neighborhoods. In many, many ways, this is one of the most important projects. It's software, it's not hardware. It's software of the city that is so powerful and so needy for us to help turn the city around. And I found that the Jewish Agency, we've been discussing this, Natan and Alan and the leadership of the municipality a few times, in finding new innovative ways of how we can actually create 1 + 1 = 2 and develop a relationship between the different federations and the different communities in Jerusalem. In many ways, it's enabling people to find a footprint in Yerushalayim. And the footprint is, on one hand, physical, the buildings, and there are many, many investors here that are connected to Jerusalem in many, many ways. But it's also the software side, connected to the people of Jerusalem, which is a connection, from my perspective, as important, if not even more important, than the physical one. It is also creating friendship and getting all our friends on the diaspora better familiar with the trends and the changes happening in our city. So I'm here at the beginning of the second term. I have many, many aggressive goals, many thoughts that we've cooked in the first term, and now we have to bring into action. We're relying on the relationship with the Jewish Agency. We're at your service. I don't take for granted the engagement and the involvement of the Jewish Agency. Is not taken for granted. And when we have all kinds of events, when we open up new initiatives, I always remind the residents of Jerusalem, who are real partners around the world. So I'm here on behalf of the people of Jerusalem. I'd like to say thank you for your involvement, for your engagement, for caring about our city, for being a loyal shareholder. And there's no doubt in my mind that we will develop the city together for the benefit of the next generations. And I'm sure we'll see you בשנה הבאה בירושלים הבנויה. תודה רבה.